Louisiana. I'm Chef John Folse, welcoming you to this great state of ours. These beautiful plantation homes reflect the fascinating history of our culture and cuisine, and I'd like to share this story with you. Why not join me and some of my friends as we visit the plantation homes of our state and cook up another great Taste of Louisiana.
Funding for this program was provided in part by Bruce Foods Corporation, makers of Louisiana Gold and other distinctive Louisiana-style food products.
I have often wondered about the difficulty in furnishing one's home in the early days of our country. There were no furniture stores or showrooms to go into and pick out that special piece, so you had to be just a little bit more creative. Some simply built their own. Others, the rich, went to the cities or even to Europe to have a piece designed, built, and shipped to their homes. I know of one bedroom set designed in Philadelphia for a presidential candidate destined for the White House. Upon losing the election, the furniture was purchased by a Louisiana planter and sent downriver to grace his mansion. I'm Chef John Folse. Welcome to the Henry Clay bedroom of Rosedown Plantation. The grandeur of this bed alone is very hard for anyone to imagine. The owner of Rosedown actually had to build a wing onto the plantation just to house this bedroom set, and then built a wing on the other side to maintain balance. A heavily carved armoire and several other matching pieces were included in this original set. Even the window treatments are designed to imitate the Gothic style of this fine furniture. Other bedrooms in the house are equally as impressive. One of the best pieces, and the piece that I enjoyed the most, was a swan-shaped cradle bed that was brought over from an antique shop in England by the Underwood family. It's not original, but it's very special. The children's room contains many miniaturized versions of some adult furniture. This particular bedroom set was added by the Underwoods and is very, very unusual. It's made of paper mache and is inlaid with mother of pearls. Look how beautiful this is. The foyer of Rosedown is special because it contains a beautiful staircase, and the wallpaper on the wall is actually older than the house itself. This little ivory button tells every visitor that the home is paid for. Here's that wallpaper, and I was able to catch up with Ann Hodge, who told me about the paper and some of the history of the furniture of Rosedown. You know, Ann, I would imagine that this magnificent furniture is really the specialty here at Rosedown, isn't it?
Yes, John, it is. And 90% of this furniture is original in the home today. We've only had 2 owners in this home. And in the parlor, the hand-carved walnut parlor set is by Prudent Millard. That is original, and it was made in New Orleans in 1840 and brought into this home when the Turnbulls were here. The chandelier is a beautiful English Georgian crystal chandelier. And this is one of the most interesting pieces in the home, I think. This is the fire screen that was made in needlepoint by Martha Washington. This was given to her great-great-granddaughter, Caroline Butler, who married William Turnbull, the son of Martha and Daniel Turnbull, who died in a boating accident. Now, this is one of the most beautiful pieces in the home today, I think.
Besides a terrific collection of mostly original furniture, Rosedown is known for its impressive gardens. In 1835, it was Daniel Turnbull who built this beautiful Greek Revival plantation for his bride, Martha Barrow. The 28 formal acres of gardens are only enhanced by the stately grove of oaks that give the home an elegant and very formal entranceway. Visitors to the ground will find something in bloom all year long, but my favorite time at Rosedown is in May, when the roses are in bloom. When Daniel and Martha were married in 1835, they went to Europe on their honeymoon, and while there, they attended a play named Rosedown. On the curtain on the stage was a picture of a beautiful mansion, and they decided to come back home and build that mansion for their home. They also toured a lot of the gardens of Versailles in Italy, and she knew that she would have to duplicate those gardens as well in Louisiana. I called Rosedown today, and I talked to my good friend Cordell Veal, who is the gardener there, the director of horticulture. And I said, Cordell, if you have a minute to stop by the kitchen, come on in and we're going to talk about the gardens. And he says, if I have time, I have 30 acres that I have to take care of over there, but he promises that he may stop by. I also had a chance to look at some of the diaries and some of the journals about the foods that were prepared back then. I found the original shopping list for the grand opening of the house in 1835. There were things like, 25 turkeys, ducks, about 12 dozen eggs, cakes of every kind. But one of the things that caught my attention was a leg of spring lamb, because lamb and mutton wasn't something that we ate a lot of in Louisiana. But I have to remember that this is the English countryside of Louisiana, West Feliciana, and lamb would have been a big dish. And I want you to take a look in my little roasting pan here. I have a leg of lamb. This must be about a 6-month-old leg, and you can see just how nice and lean this leg is. And to season it, I'm going to go ahead and punch some holes with my paring knife down into it, about 8 or 9 of them, just to get the seasoning down inside of the leg. And my seasonings are all right here on my platter. I've got all types of fresh herbs. I have, of course, some thyme and rosemary. I've got just any type that you would like in the garden. I like the typical basils and, of course, a lot of garlic, black pepper, and salt. I mix it all together because this is going to be stuffed down into these little pockets that I cut into the leg. And look at here, I'm going to just punch it right down in here like this. And the more the merrier. You can't put too much herbs, I don't think. Remember, rosemary is something that goes very well with lamb, as well as sage, and I have a touch of that in this mixture as well. Not too much salt, but of course, put some of that great cracked black pepper on there. It's going to really flavor it nicely. Then sprinkle it across the top of the leg of lamb like this. Coat it well, and once that's done, you may want to come back over and just put a little bit more salt and pepper sprinkled right across the top of the leg like this, just to finish the seasonings. Now, you notice in the bottom of the pan, I have some little potatoes and yams, and of course garlic. Nothing goes better with lamb than garlic. So I always put a couple nice cloves down in here and a couple heads as well, just to make sure that we get that garlic flavor in. I'm going to top that with a little touch of melted butter. I'm going to put, this isn't actually butter, it's a buttery flavored oil, but I'll put a little touch of that on top of the leg of lamb. And then I would put this uncovered in a 350 to 400 degree oven if you're watching it closely, and make sure it's not covered. Let it brown nicely. It's going to get nice and caramelized on the outside. And I want to show you what this is going to look like after about an hour and a half. That's all you have to cook it. Let it stay that nice medium rare in the center. Take a look at this leg of lamb, if you can imagine that. Look how beautiful it is. And once it's roasted, you can see all of the seasonings start to kind of protrude out of the little pockets that I put into it. Look at this elephant toe. Look at the size of that clove of elephant toe garlic that's roasted and really nice and sweet once it comes out of the roasting pan. To finish garnishing it, this is Rosedown. I'm going to put some rose petals right on top of the leg of lamb. Look how beautiful it is when these petals hit it. Imagine telling your guest that this is one of the 1835 dishes of one of the great plantation homes of Louisiana. Beautiful leg of spring lamb. Now, as I was going through those journals and looking for a nice vegetable, because I knew that vegetables were prominent on the tables of the Felicianas, because again, we're looking at a period of time when everybody grew their own gardens. And I found a very interesting dish. It's a spinach and andouille soufflé. Now, spinach is something, obviously, that grows in the spring as well as the winter months, so they could have had it all year long. And I'm going to show you how to make that. I'm going to crank up my fire here. I'm going to put, again, some of this really nice buttery flavored oil down into my pot and get this fire blazing. And I'm going to season it with a little onions, celery, bell pepper, garlic, and of course andouille, which is the very smoky sausage of Louisiana. Sometimes we'll put the tasso in it, which is a smoky flavored ham, but the andouille is ham in a casing, kind of chunky, and then smoked over pecan wood, and that gives the spinach souffle a really, really nice smoky flavor. Look at all these nice colors: onions, celery, gold and red bell peppers, and I want to kind of stir all of that around there. get it sauteing into the skillet quickly. Of course, I have to put a little touch of garlic. You know how I love that. A little bit of that in there. And all I want to do is wilt these vegetables because, of course, again, remember that this is going to be baked for about an hour. So you don't have to overcook the vegetables at all. Just kind of wilt them down into the bottom of the skillet like this. Now, once that's done, I would get the spinach. I've got about 3 cups here, and I've taken the spinach and I've chopped it. I've just run my French knife through it and really got it chopped so that it's fine. Now, you could do this in a blender or a food processor, but don't get it too watery. You want to just have it nice and chunky. So I'm going to pour that down into the skillet like that. And again, just kind of mash it all around into the seasonings. It's a real pretty colored dish, but again, very tasty. I love spinach, and any way I can find to fix it, I will. And I guess that's why I enjoyed finding this recipe. And you ought to try this, especially around holidays. It makes a really nice centerpiece on the table. While this is sauteing, I have a big bowl here. And in the bowl, I have about 8 eggs. That's right, 8 eggs, if you can imagine that. About 1.5 cups of cream. After all, this is a souffle, remember. I'm going to whip all of that around, and then I can season this. I'm going to put a touch of cracked black pepper into it, some granulated garlic. This is not the powdery, just the granulated. And then a touch of salt. Continue to whip that until it's well blended. And then we'll want to take the spinach, once it's been cooked, into the seasoning mixture like this, and you want to pour it right into the egg mixture. Now, of course, you probably want to let this cool just a little bit. You never want to put too hot a food into an egg and cream mixture, but you want to just pour that in like this. And again, you can see just how colorful that's going to be. Let's fire off. Okay, now I would put this right into my little souffle bowl once it's all mixed up. So you just mix this around. Then I add my cheese and breadcrumbs to hold it all together. Here's my grated Swiss cheese right down into it. And you can imagine how that cheese is going to work in there. And then seasoned Italian breadcrumbs. And again, for color, remember, this is going to be a centerpiece vegetable, so you may want to add a few more of the colored bell peppers right at the end. Notice how the cheese and breadcrumbs kind of pick up all of that liquid in the souffle. One of the great things about it, though, is once you bake this for about an hour at 350 degrees, the souffle is really going to hold well. It won't sink back into the pan. Look how this is going to fill it up nicely. You can see that. Move this right here, and I'll finish it for you. And again, I would just add some nice orange to the top of it, probably some purple, and 300, 350 degrees for an hour until a knife comes out nice and clean, and you're going to have a great, great casserole, wonderful spinach casserole. Let me get this out of the way for you. Now, what would I serve with this? As I was looking through the menus at Rosedown, I found that the family loved sweets. Look at this. This is one of the candied fruit platters that was always found on the Sunday table at Rosedown. We have oranges that's just been cooked at about 300 degrees in an Italian caramel. We have strawberries, lemons, kumquats, and of course plums and grapes. A beautiful little platter there. And fruitcake was a favorite of the Turnbulls. They loved fruitcake, and I found that they ate fruitcake all year long. And look at here with all the nice candied fruit again. They really enjoyed doing that, and I think it's a dish that you would have found any time at Rosedown. Beautiful little dish there. Okay, well, I told you that my buddy Cordell Veal was coming in, and I know that I can hear him walking in the hall. Hey, Cordell,
hello, John.
how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. What do you have there?
Here's some indigo that I bought you.
Oh, you know, we were talking about that indigo the other day. Now, a lot of plantations planted indigo,
Right.
but this isn't the dye plant here.
No, it isn't. It's just a landscape variety.
This is the ground cover.
Right, ground cover.
I hope you brought me more than this.
Oh, I got a big pot for you.
Well, we're going to plant it after. When we were at Rosedown the other day, we were able to go out there and look at the gardens, and I've got some nice shots of. Why don't you tell us exactly what we're looking at here? I mean,
Okay.
really beautiful shots.
You're looking at in the background with the live oak, the alley with the house in the background. Okay, that's cedar fern right there. Those are the centennial camellias that planted at Rosedown. And that is still some of the cedar fern that Mr. Turnbull imported from Japan. That is a farmer garden with the 5 different varieties of roses. We have over 1,200 roses planted in the garden at Rosedown. That's the Europeana variety. That is the hydrangea, the blue color. That's the indigo with the wisteria-like flowers. That's what I just bought you.
Gorgeous that is.
All right. And that's the reservoir behind the main house with the pigeonnier in the background. It gives a beautiful reflection on the water.
What a beautiful scene that is. I tell you, it's a gorgeous place, and anytime anyone gets an opportunity to walk around those gardens and smell the roses, as we say, it's fantastic. Let's sit over here and we'll talk a little bit more. You know, early this morning everybody knew that I was going to be looking at Rosedown today. So I had some friends come in from the Herb Society of America, the Baton Rouge unit, and they brought me all of the edible flowers. They said, John, y'all going to talk about gardens and roses, but hey, let's talk about edible flowers too. Look at all this beautiful edible flowers in this basket. There's everything from calendula, dianthus, marigolds, daylilies, just beautiful stuff. Look at here how nice that is. And they also brought me some foods that were cooked with these flowers. And I want you to take a look at this spicy geranium and rose pound cake. Just beautiful. You can see the little rose on top of it there and the flowers. And imagine that all of the edible flowers are in the batter. This right here is a bread, and the bread is made with society garlic. This is a garlic clove here, and fennel. And these nice little fennel seeds that's in the batter, as well as in the cream cheese that we make a spread with for the bread. Again, edible flowers. And look at here. This has got to be one of my favorite. This is the daylilies of all the different colors and stuffed with black olives and walnuts and cream cheese. And imagine just walking through the garden and plucking some of these. I don't know if they come with the cream cheese at Rosedown or not. And this is for you. This is rose petal jelly. I never have a biscuit in the morning without rose petal jelly. See this? And all of my friends from the Herb Society of America, great people, the Baton Rouge group came in and gave me these today, and I tell you, I'm real happy about that. But it's great to have you in, great to have you.
Good to be here.
And I love to come and visit with you over there. It's been said that the house and gardens of Rosedown were inspired by the talent and hard work of 2 women who lived 100 years apart and obviously never met each other. Is that true?
That's true. Miss Martha Turnbull, which she was an amateur horticulturist, and Miss Catherine Underwood, she was in the Gardens Clubs of America.
And she bought the house.
And she bought it in 1956.
Now, how did you acquire the job of Director of Horticulture, and you're in charge of all of those 28 acres of gardens over there? That's a really impressive position to have, and you do such a great job. How long have you been there, and how did you get the job?
I've been working at Rosedown for 16 years, and I was working under my father, which he still worked there today. And about 3 years ago, I was promoted to the Director of Horticulture and Landscaping. How I got that position, I worked very close with some of the older horticulturists, and I did a lot of observing, asked plenty questions, and I had took some courses at LSU under the direction of Dr. Neil Odenwald.
Well, I guess it's obviously a very important position. People come from all over the world, hundreds of thousands, to see the gardens at Rosedown. And what an accomplishment for you to be able to be the gentleman in charge of every one of those gardens. It's got to be just a wonderful feeling. Do you actually share ideas with other gardeners from other plantation homes in Louisiana? Because I know there's other homes with beautiful gardens.
Yes, I share a lot of different ideas and points about different varieties of shrubs, annuals in the garden.
Do groups of people who are interested in flowers, people who are interested in looking at special varieties, do they come out and hold seminars, or is it just open to the public and people who love to just come out and walk through gardens?
Yes, we have, in the spring of the year, sometime we have the Garden Club of America. They comes and They're very interesting. Most of the old shrubberies, like the English box, the crepe myrtle, and many of the different varieties of trees that we have.
Now, I understand that Mrs. Turnbull, she went to Europe and fell in love with all these magnificent gardens of Europe, and she decided to come back to Rosedown and put in a garden that would equal any of them. And she actually imported a lot of plants that were never before seen in America. Is that right?
That's right. Some of the plants she imported is the azalea, and then we have the sweet olive plant that comes from overseas, what she imported.
And the camellias, there's some camellia
yes,
trees there that's over 150 years old. Huh?
That's right.
I was stunned to see those trees. You were telling me also that some of the rose bushes that she planted in the 1830s are still alive and thriving there.
We have one. It's the Soprano rose. It's an old antique rose.
Now, do you introduce, I know you have a greenhouse there, I see you working around in the greenhouse working with plants. Have you introduced any varieties there yourself? Are you experimenting with any flowers for the gardens?
Well, with a few flowers, not many. It's mostly the hip gardenia and the, they have the Japanese rose. Some people call it the yellow rose of Texas, but it's imported from Japan.
So that's just every variety imaginable, and you are trying to work with. I know you were working with a peacock fern, which I found to be real interesting. When the sun hits it, it turns
blue like the peacock tail.
Are you having any success with it?
No, not really. But I'm keep trying.
You know, I have a green thumb. And I can come out there and give you a hand. I've got a little garden myself.
Well,
do you ever worry? I know a lot of these big, beautiful mansions are, like many of the big homes in America, are up for sale, and I know a lot of these, the upkeep is so tremendous. I know that possibly one day Rosedown would sell. Are you concerned about a new owner having the same love of the gardens as the Turnbulls and Underwoods and obviously yourself?
Yes, I'm very concerned about it. What concerns me, if someone come in, would they keep it open to the public as a museum as it is today? That's one of the concerns that I have about it.
Now you told me that even though somebody would buy that home, that you have some dreams yourself. You were telling me about sitting in that rocking chair on the front, on the front porch.
Yeah, sitting down in the rocking chairs late in the evening, just taking it all in, observing. And then we have the fountains in the garden, which you can, with the water background and the birds. It's a very romantic setting. It is late in the evenings.
Well, I want you to remember that I heard that the sales price of that mansion is $4.5 million, and hey, you might hit the lottery one day. Who knows if I don't hit it first.
Right, exactly.
If Mrs. Turnbull was to come back to Rosedown today, if she was to walk the grounds and look around and run into Cordell Veal, what do you think she would say? Well,
one of the things she would probably say, well, Cordell, my gardens are still in perfect order.
Well, I know that she probably introduced more species of formal garden plants to Louisiana than any other person, and that was over 100 years ago.
Right.
And to think that those plants are still in bloom there today, and that you're the gentleman who's responsible to keep them alive. Cordell, thank you so much for being a part of this today and coming to visit with us. And thank all of you for coming to visit. And come back again as we continue to cook up foods of the plantations and more great Taste of Louisiana. Let's take a taste of some of this stuff.
Funding for this program was provided in part by Bruce Foods Corporation, makers of Bruce's Yams and other distinctive Louisiana-style food products.
Chef John Folse's Plantation Celebrations, Recipes from Our Louisiana Mansions, is a full-color 335-page book containing food history, recipes, and over 150 photographs from these southern landmarks. For your copy, send a check or money order for $28.50 to Louisiana Public Broadcasting, 7860 Anselmo Lane, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70810. Or use your credit card by calling toll-free 1-800-973-7246.